Hello, in this video I'll show you how to use this updated fading feature. So it was updated in build 1.16, and fading is a feature which allows you to get rid of your object which you simulated or get rid of the fragments of the demolished object. So they will not be simply destroyed by you manually, but they will fade away over time. And first way to fade object is actually a manual way. You can fade it using this button in editor or using fade public method. So here's my object. Here's I am simulating it. At some point of time I don't want it to be in scene anymore, so I can initiate this fade. And again, you can use public method fade. And after some time it starts fading away. There are several fade types. In this case I'm using scale down one. And after some time it disappears from scene, so kind of smooth way to get rid of the object, but I show you all fade types later. So second way is to use demolition. In this case I want to fade this object. I will demolish it to fragments, and I want fragments to fade away over time. So I set here on demolition, and in this case I'm using inactive column. So after demolition all fragments also will be inactive. Some of them will be activated because I'm using here by velocity and by offset values, but some of them they will stay inactivated, and this is what will happen. So I will initialize my rock. Here you can see that some fragments fall down, some fragments stay inactive, but after some time all of the fragments got inactivated, and this is probably not what you want to see when you demolish inactivated object. But in case that will be a rock, it will be demolished to fragments, and all the fragments will be inactivated over time. So in this case I'm demolishing the same column, but I set here fade to on activation. So this is another way to fade your object, is activate them, and activation will initialize fading as well. And again I will demolish it using this rock. So in this case you can see that some parts inactive and some parts were activated, and as you can see all the activated fragments, they start fading away, and inactive fragments still stay inside scene. They are still part of the simulation, so I can hit them somehow, and again after they were activated they will start fade away. So this is how works fading for demolished inactive fragments. And in the last example here I already have a pre-fragmented column, so all the fragments stay there in scene from the beginning. So as you can see, this column already pre-fragmented, and I set here simulation type to inactive, so nothing is going to be demolished. I just only set I have here measure type, so I have rigid component only on root. Fragment don't have a rigid component. So this is the only place where I can set up all the properties. So I said here initiate on activation. Nothing is going to be demolished. Demolition type is none. And so my rock only will hit the fragments and activate some of them. And again, you can see that some parts still stay inactive, and all activated fragments start fading away. Okay, so this is the way you can initiate fading. You can do this manually using button or method, or you can initiate it on demolition for fragments, or on activation for fragments, and or for original object which you start simulate, like in first example with rock. So that was initiate properties. Next property is lifetime, and life in this group of properties. As you can see, there are two lifetimes, by lifetime and by simulation and lifetime. And life is time between moment when you initiate fading and between moment when it actually will start to fade. So this is a time object will stay in scene, but and after this time it will start to fade away. And there are two types, by lifetime and by lifetime and by simulation and lifetime. So in this case, I'm using lifetime 1, and it measures in seconds. So it means that after I will initiate fading, it will stay in scene for 1 second. And this is a variation property. It allows you to initiate allows your fragments to live different amount of time. But in this case, I will use 0 because this is just one object. So for this one, for this first object, I set it to lifetime to 1, and for second, I set lifetime 10 seconds. And for this one, I set by simulation and lifetime. And simulation and lifetime means that object will live until it simulates, until it moves in your scene. But when it will stop its simulation, then it will start counting this lifetime, and only then it will start fade away. So let's see how it looks like. So this is the first example. Oops, stop. I want to initiate them manually. Initialize. So let's see how this one works. You can see fragments, and basically they start fading right away because they have only 1 second of lifetime. In this example, I have lifetime 10 seconds. So I will initialize, and here you can see these fragments crumbling down. So it takes some time until they will start fade away. But then they are starting fading away all at the same time because all of them has 10 seconds of life. And in this example, I am using simulation and lifetime is 1 second, but I actually set it to 0. So in this case, right after object will stop its simulation, it will start fading away. So let's see how this one looks. And as you can see, some of the fragments start simulating and they start fading away. But this one is still crumbling down. It's active, but after some time, it starts fading away as well. So using this by simulation and lifetime, you can be sure that if your object is still part of the simulation, you still want to see it and see it won't start fading away, but after it will stop simulation, then you can get rid of it. Okay, so that was life types and properties. And in this example, I will show you the fade types. So there are basically 4 fade types. Simulation exclude, which means that actual mesh will stay inside scene. So this one is set to none. It means that all the fragments will stay in scene. They will be simulated always until you will not get rid of them on your own, or maybe you don't want to get rid of them. So this means that fading is disabled. This one, it said here seam exclude. It means that object will stay inside scene, but it will not be simulated. So it will kind of bake into the scene, and only its mesh will stay, but all the colliders and rigid body components, they will be deleted. The next one is move down. It means that object simply will start moving under the ground, and then it will be destroyed after some time, after the fade time. Next one is scale down. This example you already saw before. And finally, the simplest is destroyed. Object will simply disappear after lifetime and fade time. So let's see these types in action. So here you can see objects fragments were demolished, and then they always will be part of the simulation. They always will be simulated until you will do something with them on your own. In this example, I used uh, seam exclude, and actually let me set lower amount of life. So here you can see objects were simulated and then they freeze because now they don't have any colliders and rigid body components, so this is just an objects. They are not simulated anymore. So in case you want to save some of your resources, you can get rid of all simulation components, but keep actual objects and meshes. In this example, I will use move down. So here you can see some fragment simulates, and then after some time, they just start moving down underground, and finally, they are getting deleted after some time. Okay, now all of them were deleted. This one is scale down. You already saw how it works. Object fragment simulates and then slowly starts scaling to 0 and get destroyed after some time. And final one is simple destroy. So fragments simply will start disappearing one by one. Okay, so that was fade types. And next example, I will show you how fade time works. So this is basically pretty simple property. This one will fade for 2 seconds, and this one will fade for 10 seconds. So, well, pretty straightforward property. Okay, you can see that one already disappeared, and second just slowly scaling down. And the last property is size filter. Size filter allows you to initiate fading only for very small fragments. So in this case, size filter 0, which means it's off, and it means that fading will be affected to all fragments. And for this one, I set size filter. Oh, sorry. For this one, I set size filter to 0, which means all fragments will be affected. And for this one, I set to 2. It measures in units. So it will affect only fragments which size is less than 2 units. So in this case, you can get rid of very small fragments, but keep the biggest one and keep them inside your scene and simulate them further. Again, just let me initialize these fragments. First, I will initialize both of them. So keep a look at these fragments. You can see that big fragment stay in scene, but small fragment disappears. And after some time, we have only big fragments stay in scene, and they will be part of simulation until you do something to them on your own. So just another property to control your fading. So well, that was fading, and I hope you like this video, and thank you for watching.